Question? Yes, sir. No, I don't plan to do any more directing. My creative process now is mostly concentrated on my photography. I am doing some appearances on the Fringe TV series, which we're filming in Vancouver. I did an episode about 6 weeks ago that will be airing in October, and I will do at least one more, and then we'll see how it goes. But I'm enjoying that. But my photography is where my most concentrated effort is creatively. I have a new project called Secret Selves, which is a number of portraits which I've photographed, people I've photographed in Massachusetts, and that will open as an exhibition at the Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art next year in North Adams, Massachusetts, if any of you are in that area. And you can see the portraits on my website. The website has a very complicated name. You better maybe want to write this down. It's very unusual. It's called LeonardNimoyPhotography.com. So that's the website that you can see my photography work there. I've published 2 books of photographs, one called Shekhinah, which was about the feminine aspect of God according to Jewish mysticism, and the other was called The Full Body Project, which is about full-bodied women who are happy in their skins. So, have you got the book? You do? The lady from Washington has the book. Wow. Not only you ask good questions, you buy good books, too.
Your series is the black and white one and the hand series.
The black and white series and the hand series, yeah. They're all on the website. Thank you. So that's where I'm spending most of my creative energy, but I'm enjoying working on Fringe. Yes, sir, here. Thank you. Unfinished episodes of Star Trek? You have more information about Star Trek than I do. I don't know about these episodes. I really don't. This is the first I've heard of it. I have a feeling you're going to be in my life forever. I don't know. I would be happy to receive the information, but I don't know what you're referring to. Yes, the lady here. Yes. Oh, interesting question. I wrote a book called I Am Not Spock in the early 70s. And the I Am Spock was written sometime in the mid-80s, I think. I think I'm right about that. It's been some time. Well, the process, I'll take a minute to explain that arc and that process of my thinking. The first book, I was publishing some books of photography and poems, and with a small company in Northern California, San Francisco, and they said to me, would you be interested in writing a book about your Star Trek experiences? So I thought, well, okay, I'll try that. And I sat down to write various essays and chapters for a potential book. I wrote about how I got the job as Spock, my life before Star Trek, how Star Trek affected my life, how the character was built and how I grew into the character of Spock and how it affected my life and so forth. And while I was doing this, I had this experience in a San Francisco airport one day. A lady recognized me, and she had a little boy with her. He must have been 8 or 9 years old. And she marched him over in front of me, and she said, look who's standing here, right in front of you. And the little boy stared at me, and there was no recognition. And she said, this is your favorite character. You watch him on television every week. And he stared, and he was bewildered. And she said, this is Mr. Spock. And he didn't get it. And I sympathized with him because it must have been confusing to him. I didn't have my ears, and my hair wasn't right, and I wasn't in costume. And what would I be doing as Spock in a San Francisco airport? Well, I found that really interesting. It got me thinking about character and actor, the character and the actor, and where's the crossover between the two. she was using a sort of a language shortcut. What she really was saying to the little boy was, this is the actor who portrays Mr. Spock in Star Trek. But she didn't say that. She said, this is Mr. Spock. And that was confusing. So I wrote a chapter on that idea, on that subject, and I explained that I am not Mr. Spock. I am an actor. I was born in Boston. Mr. Spock was not. My parents were Russian immigrants. Mr. Spock's parents were not Russian immigrants. And my father was a barber. Spock's father was not a barber. So there are differences. And I wrote about how an actor begins to find his way into, to take on the persona of a character, and how that a character becomes part of you and how you become identified with that character. So I thought it was an interesting chapter. I finished the book. I handed it in. The publisher said, what would you like to call the book? And I said, I think I'm most interested in that aspect. But from the actor's point of view, I think it's an interesting chapter. Maybe we should call the book I Am Not Spock. And he said, well, that's a negative title. And negative titles don't usually sell well. So I said, sure, what about Gone with the Wind? So I won the argument, and he said, it's your book, we'll call it whatever you like, and we call it I'm Not Spock. It was a big mistake. It was a mistake. I made a mistake. This book came out at a time when there was a tremendous hunger for more Star Trek, and we were not making any. We had finished the series in 1966, 7, and 8. The final episodes went on in 1969. This book came out about 1971 or 2 or thereabouts. And there was a tremendous hunger for more Star Trek, and the Star Trek episodes were on in reruns, but there was no new production. And the feeling was that the reason there was no new production was because I wouldn't do Star Trek anymore, because I was refusing to be identified with Spock, saying, I'm not Spock. So, that was not the case at all. It was not my intention. That was not the reality. There was simply no Star Trek being produced. So it was a problem for me. For several years, people were angry and upset, and I would get nasty mail, and who do you think you are? And you're preventing us from having what we want and what we love and what we need to have. And we're addicted to Star Trek, and you're preventing us from having more Star Trek. And it was silly, and it was terrible. And then, about 1977, there was George Lucas did us a tremendous favor, and he produced a movie called Star Wars, and I went to see it, and I was sitting in this theater with a packed theater, people screaming and cheering and having a wonderful time, and I thought to myself, I think I'm going to be getting a call from Paramount Studios pretty soon. And sure enough, they called. They said, we want to make a Star Trek movie. We'd like you to be in it. And of course, I was in it. I've been in every Star Trek product up until The Next Generation. And so that all went away, all that anger and frustration went away, and we began to make the Star Trek movies. And then, after doing that for a while, I thought there are some new Star Trek stories to tell. Wouldn't it be nice to put that whole issue away? And I decided I would write a book called I Am Spock and talk about my most recent experiences making the movies and so forth. So that's how the whole thing happened. I hope you found that interesting. It was a long answer to a short question.